could, before we get on with the, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get on with the rest of the meeting, there's a little something I'd like to present to the board. So at our last meeting, we had kind of a raucous meeting at some point, and someone asked the question, who's in charge of the planning board? Kind of stuck in my head. So, when I went home, started looking at the membership of the planning board on the top of the agendas. And the first thing that hit me, that made me start to, wonder, was I saw that Mr. Guyan's, who was here before Mrs. Nettleford, remained in the second position when he should have been moved up to the first position. So that got me thinking. So I got some facts and figures together, and this is what I found out, and this is why I want to present it to the board, because it's quite serious. Let's see here, let me get out my papers. In 1978, there was an ordinance passed, number 2022, and it set the town as a, where are we going here? One second. We had commissioner form of government. They set it up as a commissioner form of government, and that's the way it ran until 1990, when the then commissioners set up a new form of government. And I'll just read the first paragraph or two. Whereas the mayor and board of commissioners of the town of Belleville in the county of Essex, New Jersey, causes ordinance of a general and permanent nature to be compiled and revised and embodied in a revision and codified known as general ordinances of the town of Belleville, New Jersey, by adopting ordinance dated May 23rd, 77, which was the old ordinance. Whereas on July 1st, 1990, the commissioner form of government ceased to exist and was replaced by the council manager form of government as provided by the optional municipal charter law, and it gives that number, that ordinance number. So in 1990, the town switched over to a council manager form of government. It's pretty clear. I have those two ordinances, and it's pretty clear. It was affirmed by those council members, and that, they define council shall mean the elected council members, including the mayor, deputy mayor of the town of Belleville. And they also referred to charter, which meant the manager plan, as they call it, manager and council. So I wanted to know how we all were appointed, because people have been coming on and off the board in a regular form and fashion. I even didn't know when my term was up, so I made the next step, and I got the appointment resolutions. So I started going through the appointment resolutions. Myself and Brian Banda were appointed by resolution in June by the council as a resolution, the way it's supposed to be under the 1990 ordinance. After that, the mayor chose to start to nominate and place people on this panel via a memo letter that doesn't go before the council. It's not voted on by the council. He appoints them, they don't even know what he's doing. He just does it. And what he chooses to grab as his reason, he says, pursuant to Township of Belleville Ordinance 19.1. Well, 19.1 is under the establishments of the 1978 ordinance, which was a commission form of government. So he has abandoned the ordinance of council manager established in 1990, which he served under in 2003. They even have a document with him affirming that. And he grabs one line off of an ordinance, off the ordinance in 78, which, again, I can read it again, it ceased to exist, is what they said. So I continued to search, and I could go through documents here. There were two. It was a 1999 ordinance that affirmed the, let me just go to it so I can read it to you, so I don't misquote anything. Adopting, the ordinance is right here. So there were two. These are quite interesting too. So in the first one, ordinance number 2812, 1999, we have 4 classes of membership. Class 1, the mayor. He doesn't need to, he appoints himself, right? Class 2, a municipal official to be appointed by the mayor. That's Ms. Qualman, that's fine. Class 3 is a member of the council to be appointed by the council. And oddly enough, that's Tommy, and he has been appointed through resolution this whole time. That's the proper way to do it. Class 4, 8 other citizens of the municipality to be appointed by the council. So aside from myself and Mr. Banda, everybody else has been appointed by a memo, which there's no way you can construe to be legitimate. It's just not legitimate. I mean, a grade school kid could read the documents I have in front of me and see that a 1978 ordinance was cast aside by the 1990 ordinance, which put us into a council manager form of government. And under that council manager form of government, the council has to approve the members. And they haven't. I believe it to be an illegitimate planning board. How can we continue to vote on things? It's been done completely out of the laws and around the ordinances. That 19.1 that he quotes literally comes off a 1978 ordinance that set up that other form of government. So that's a big issue I have. And as I looked further, I've been on the board, I think, almost 10 years. Things have changed in the last few years. They really have. Not always to my liking, but I'm on the board. I'm one of many, and I say that often. It's my opinion. This is my opinion. There's been some conflicts of interest on the board. Clear conflicts of interest. And this really kind of rattled me a little. When I read, the complete guide to New Jersey planning boards and zoning boards, which I had been given when I joined, I should have opened it earlier maybe, but they didn't. Let me read conflicts of interest. The third paragraph, it says, however, the courts have narrowly construed conflicts of interest and determined that even if there is no direct interest, the possibility of a psychological effect may be enough to taint a hearing. Thus, if in doubt, the safest course is to consult the board's attorney. If there is a doubt about the propriety of the board member acting on a particular matter, the board member should voluntarily step off the board for that application. The rationale is simple, that the board decisions must be free of any bias or any appearance of bias whatsoever. The courts do not hesitate to reverse or remand a decision in which a board member has had some personal or financial interest at stake, regardless of how that member voted. And there clearly have been. I could go into them. There's clearly been some conflicts of interest where, I'll give you the greatest example. On 11 Franklin Avenue, the chairman recuses himself because his property adjoins that property. He's within the 200-foot radius. And he goes and he sits in the back row. The mayor has voted on things, on proposals and projects that are before us, and he's taken campaign money from these people and from their associates. That is such a clear and direct violation of a conflict of interest that when you combine these two items, I personally believe that this board should suspend all operations until the DCA or somebody can guide us as to how we're supposed to proceed. I'm nothing against any of the board members. Frank, Mr. Bo, Patricia, anybody. I only happened to be named in the proper way because it was when the mayor first got in, and I guess he hadn't conceived this plan yet where he was going to circumvent the council and just appoint members. He says that's his right and his duty. No, it's not. Anybody who wants to look it up, 19.1 out of the establishments of that 78 ordinance say that, yes, but that's not the form of government we're operating under. So it's a complete violation And not only violation, it's against the law, it's illegal. It's illegal. Even with some of the conflicts of him sitting on the board with people who have donated to his campaign. It's legal to donate. They can donate, nobody's complaining about that. It's illegal for him to sit up here. And I wish he were here tonight because I would love to hear his response. It's illegal for him to sit up here and question the applicant and vote on the applicant. We had Mr. Dorso here last month with some crazy building he wants to build. Mr. Dorso's, some of his employees and some people associated with him have donated to the mayor. The mayor should have recused himself. He never should have sat up here. So these things are illegal. And what I'm going to do is take this package and hand it off to somebody at DCA who oversees this, because we don't have counsel here tonight. Her dad had an emergency. I wish the mayor were here because I'd love to question him. Well, we do have counsel here, but he's not familiar with what's going on this board. My apologies. He's not, and I don't think he wants to throw himself in the middle of it either. We had, out of nowhere, we've been asked to review bills. This is what this raucous meeting was about last time. The mayor and the town manager have decided that we all should approve the professionals' bills. We don't have enough information to review the professionals, but again, we're not accusing the professionals of not doing the right thing, but we never did it before, and yet they want us to do it now, and they have ulterior reasons, you know. So that aside, these two items are illegal. That item of him wanting us to review a bill isn't illegal, I guess, and we could do it or not do it. These two items are of a serious nature, and they're designed this way so that this is a non-political board. It's autonomous from the board. When I asked who put Mrs. Nettleford before Mr. Guyan's, I was told the mayor. He has no right to do that. Mr. Veniero's the chairman. Since when do we hop over people without cause? So I would like to hear from the public, some of which are very astute. And then I would ask Mr. Veniero, I don't see how we move forward on any vote, because any vote we make is illegitimate and can be reversed and remanded by a court or even the powers to be, DCA. We don't know what they're going to do. So that's what I found out, because the question was asked, who runs the board? You know what my final answer is, who runs the board? Who's got the most votes? And so that's why, and I said it to Mr. Band a few weeks ago, this board has been stacked by the mayor illegally. Not, how can I say, I don't want to use the wrong word, but it really is. It's illegal. It breaks all these ordinances, some of which, I believe, if I read this book right, carry $500 fine and 90-day prison sentences per occurrence. I don't know how many hundreds of times that is. Every time we sat here, every time he sat with a conflict, he's made a mess of this board, because all the years I sat on it, it was never politicized. We never heard from the mayor or any councilman to do something. There was never arm twisting. We heard an application here last week that had 20-something variances on a 45-foot tall building, and there were people contorting themselves to try to figure out how could we pass it. Pass it. Pass it. You know, that's what, I don't want to sit on a board that's been politicized, and I'm not going to affirm any more votes that don't sit well in my conscience. We changed the zoning law because we were told we needed to get a little more generous to get things started. We're going on about 1,400 units right now, and they haven't rescinded any of those zoning changes. We're doubling down on something. There's conflicts coming up in the zoning changes. There's major conflicts coming up with the zoning changes. I see no action for the mayor to recuse himself. So until some of this stuff is straightened up, I'll sit here, I will take no part, I will say my piece, and what I suggest we do is suspend our actions, go to the proper authorities at the state level, and have them figure out what we should do to put some integrity back into this board. Because I may disagree with some of the people that get up and speak, and I see your faces, you're here all the time, and I always say, God bless you, because you guys care. I may disagree with you, but I respect you. And it's disrespectful, not only to talk rudely as I've seen it done before, and others did it before. You know, other council members in the past, I don't appreciate that. But that's what I've discovered, that's my discovery. I got a package of it, I have all the documentation. It is going down to Trenton, and that's my suggestion, and I hand it back over to the chairman.